Roll call.
Mayor Warren,
Present.
Vice Mayor Parsons,
Present.
Commissioner Lundberger,
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
We have quorum, Your Honor.
Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the invocation today.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you that we can come to you in Jesus' name at any time for anything, anywhere. Thank you for the flag that we just pledged allegiance to, for one nation. That is, thank you for our leaders, our commissioners. Lord, I know that they've got a lot of decisions to make and oftentimes a lot of pressure coming from every direction. I pray that you would give them great grace, strength, and wisdom to lead our community well. Thank you for their sacrifice of time and labor and love to make this a good place to live and to raise our kids. So I pray that you would direct them in their decisions tonight. And then just watch over our community, our first responders and our medical workers, our teachers and educators, and everybody that helps make this place what it is. Just help us to cooperate with one another and make this a great place to live. We sure love you. Thank you for being good to us. Thank you for Jesus Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 1, awards, proclamations, and presentations. Seeing none. Number 2, approval of the agenda. Make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Lindbroker and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. It passes. Item number 3, minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the March 14, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Item number 4, items from citizens. Seeing no items from citizens, moving to item number 5, items from groups. Seeing no items from groups, item number 6, the consent agenda. We have 3 airport leases. Make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Lindbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? Passes 5-0. Item number 7, insurance review, Alshank Insurance. Good, thanks, John.
I like that jacket. No, it's fine. That's it. Give, yeah.
I'm Al Shank from Al Shank Insurance. I wanted to visit with you about the insurance renewal. Insurance renews on April the 1st. I went through much of what you see with your city manager and with Chris Ford, I think last Friday. So they've seen this, reviewed it, we've discussed it, looked at some other options and that sort of thing. So what you have in front of you is not only a summary of the city's coverages, but also I think where we'll want to spend most of our time this evening is on the second and third page, which is the premium summary in the notes page. What I wanted to do is I wanted you to have some sense of if you hadn't added a $45 million wastewater facility, what your insurance would have been like, and then what the impact of adding that facility is at. So those first numbers you see, we have the current premium, which is what you paid this year without adding any wastewater facility, would be $795,969. The total renewal without the wastewater facility would be $814,982. That's about a 2% increase. So that's a pretty good, or pretty small increase in this market, which some within the insurance industry are starting to consider a hard market, which means we're seeing price increases, plus we're seeing a hardening of the terms that they're offering. They're not as liberal as they might have been, say, a few years ago. Below that then, and to talk a little bit about our methodology this year, we went to 3 different markets to look at the insurance this year. We went to your incumbent market, which is Employers Mutual. We also looked at Travelers, and for the workers' compensation, we looked at KMIT, or the Kansas Municipal Insurance Trust. Both Travelers and EMC we've represented in our office a significant length of time. Travelers since about 1942, and EMC since the late 1960s. Travelers insures more municipalities than any insurance company in the country, and Employers probably does the same inside the state of Kansas. So if you look at the third number on the premium summary page, if we left everything with Employers Mutual Casualty, the premium that I'm proposing this year for the coverage renewal is $891,149. That does include the wastewater facility. Then we did look at the same coverages except with the workers' compensation with KMIT. And total premium with KMIT as the work comp carrier would be $872,759. So about $19,000 or so cheaper. But you have to take into consideration that in each of the last 17 years, the city of Little has gotten a dividend for being a part of the Kansas Municipality Safety Group that EMC sponsors. Last year, your dividend was a little over $110,000. And in each of the last 2 or 3 years, it's been about that much. It's predicated on EMC providing and writing all the coverages. So we had to take out what we thought would be the dividend, or what dividend you would lose from EMC if you no longer wrote the workers' compensation with them. And as you can see, the potential dividend loss by taking the work comp out of EMC would be around $32,500. So when you look at that as a potential loss and add that into that last figure of $872,759, you're a little over $905,000 for a total premium when you take the dividend loss into account. So have I made that just as clear as mud for everybody?
So in short, we save $13,000 a year by staying with EMC versus making the switch to KMIT. And
Yeah, there would be you would lose a significant chunk of your dividend. And although dividends aren't guaranteed, the city has gotten one 17 years in a row. So you've been in pretty good shape. So the recommendation would be to leave all coverages with Employers Mutual. And I believe your city manager concurs with that as well after our discussion. The renewal notes gave you a little background information on KMIT. Also, in number 2, talked to you about and gave you some figures with regards to EMC and the dividend. As you can see, in the past 17 years, the city has received over $1.3 million in dividends as a member of EMC's Kansas Municipalities Group. The other thing we're going to ask you to consider tonight is we do have a travel accident policy for the employees of the city. It's $350 a year. It's not included in your total, but Mr. Ford wanted to make sure that that was something you looked at. And I think we have had you look at that and pass that in each of the last 2 years. Any questions on that page before we leave it? Okay, if you go to the last of the note pages, item number 4 tells you a little bit about Travelers, how they would not bid this year. There were 2 things that led to that. One is they didn't think they could be competitive with the current premium you have with EMC, and they knew they couldn't be competitive with the deductibles that you have on your property with EMC. So right now you have a $25,000 wind and hail occurrence deductible, and that's one $25,000 deductible, whether you have 1 building involved or 10 buildings involved or 30 buildings involved. What Employers is doing today is they're doing a lot of percentage deductibles. So like 1% of the building value. Well, if you think of some of the larger buildings in the county, 1% can be a pretty significant amount compared to $25,000 occurrence. So to their credit, they didn't even come out and offer a price. They just said, we don't think we can be competitive. We know we can't match those deductibles. If EMC starts to raise those deductibles going forward in the future, then we would love to take a look at it again. You are having an excellent claim year. Total claims so far have gone from a total of 27 to 20 so far this year, but the dollars are even more impressive. Last year at this time, we had $468,170 in total claims and reserves that had been paid and reserved. That has dropped to this year at the same period of time, we're looking at $73,593 in claims and reserves. So that's an excellent claims year. And particularly with regards to workers' compensation, only about $20,225 of those dollars have been paid out and reserved in the work comp area. So what you will see in a minute is your experience modification factor has dropped significantly. That has helped you on the price and will help you going forward. A couple of things just to mention right quick. We're looking, last couple of years, we've had a couple of larger workers' compensation audits. If you'll remember, work comp is based on what you think the city's payroll will be when you start the policy year, and then at year end you go back and see what it actually was. We had a rather large workers' compensation audit this past year of a little over $72,000. The previous year was not as bad. It was a little over $24,000. We're going to work with Mr. Ford to give him those numbers on both those audits. He'd like to go through them and see whether there's any reason to make an adjustment now or whether last year was just an anomaly. We think it was an anomaly, but he's going to double check that for sure. And then last but not least, one of the things that EMC would like to do on workers' compensation this year is use their Nurse on Call program, which means when a claim is reported, it's actually, instead of being reported to an adjuster at EMC or even to us at our office, although it can be, it's reported to a nurse on the staff of EMC who goes ahead and triages that claim and the possibilities that come out of that claim. So that injured employee goes down a medical path right away without having to wait or making sure who they should call or those sorts of things. So we're excited about that. We've had the school district and some others that have used that and had really good results within the past. Okay. If you want to look at the coverages themselves, you can see our blanket building and personal property limits are a little over 117 million. So that's the total value of buildings and personal property in the county. We do have some designated airport buildings, some of the older buildings like an older hangar and that sort of thing. that are broken out on a separate limit instead of being insured on a replacement cost basis or replayed or insured on an actual cash value or depreciated basis. You can see the deductible is $2,500 for all claims except wind and hail, which is a $25,000 deductible. And then we do have some earthquake coverage with the 10% deductible. In the Marine, you can see covered such things as contractors' equipment, police video equipment, Motorola equipment, computer hardware and software. And we do have cyber currently with CFC Insurance Company. We've decided to look at $3 million and $5 million limits to see what that would cost, since there was some discussion as to whether $1 million limits for an account the size of the city of Liberal with the records and the data that you handle, whether $1 million in the case of a cyber attack would be enough or not. So we've got CFC looking at alternate limits for us, and we'll get back to you or with your city manager on those. Of course, the general liability has not changed at all. Any particular questions on that page before we move on? Okay. On the next page, you can see where our law enforcement liability coverages are at. Our autos, currently we have 216 insured items. That's not only autos of all types and varieties, but also trailers that the city would have. We have crime and fidelity coverage that provides some employee dishonesty coverage and coverage on money and securities. And then last but not least, if you'll notice on the workers' compensation, your experience modification factor this year is a 1.14. That's significantly better than the 1.32 that we had last year, or the 1.25 the year before that, or the 1.21 the 2 years before that. And certainly better than the 1.33. So 1.14 means that you're still paying about a 14% surcharge on the standard work comp premium for claims experience, but it's much better path than where you've been on. So congratulations to the commissioners and staff and the employees of the city of Liberal for getting a grip on that and really winding it down. Any questions on any of those coverages? Okay. Last but not least page, then, you can see the liability coverage that we have for the airport, which is at a $5 million limit. Our linebacker, public officials, and employment practices liability is as it's been in the past. Employee benefits liability, and then liquor liability for the golf course. You know, I think you've changed the license, or looking to change the license you have as far as liquor out at the golf course, and the pricing we've included those this year would include any and all of those changes. So everything is up to date there. Questions, comments? You know, as insurance guys with the mic, we can spend as much time as you'll give us, but I think you've got some other things to do this evening besides listening to me.
Just one quick question on the linebacker and the employee benefits liability. You have a retro dates on both of those. What's that for, Al?
It's a different policy form called claims made. So it actually covers, or the claim actually runs when the actual claim is made. The retro dates are just an indication of how far those policies would go back to pick up a claim. In this case, one of those is at 1989 and one of those is at 1994. So there's really not a charge built in there to pick that up. The good news is we can go back a long ways to pick up those claims under your existing policy forms.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Then what I would ask from you to entertain or consider tonight is whether or not you'd like to move ahead with the renewal at the price that's listed, including the $350,000 for the accident plan that covers the city employees. Then that way, if you do that, we can go ahead and issue any certificates, particularly auto ID cards, or those sorts of things that we need to do to get the companies in line and get everything in place.
just want to say, everything looks good on this. I won't have any questions for you this year. We'll make it easy.
I appreciate that.
Like you said, insurance guy with a mic, we could probably talk for a while, but,
We could, but why would anybody want us to?
but everything looks good, so.
Thank you.
There's no need.
And we did labor through it, so, I mean, it was, I don't know what we've done in the past, but I know this year we went through it. I don't say we dug super deep, but we dug down and made sure that this was the right and best recommendation that we could make, so.
Rusty threw himself on the sword so you guys wouldn't have to listen to all this for a long time tonight.
So we're needing to make a motion tonight, right, and pick one of these, like, if we wanna stay with the EMC or whatever, and do the 800. Well, I make a motion that we approve the renewal of the, insurance with Al Shank Insurance through EMC, for the 23-24 year for $891,149.
Second.
Included,
That's included, right?
yeah.
All right.
And included.
And also the 350 umbrella.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I have a motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, it passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, Al.
Commissioners, appreciate it.
Thanks, Al.
Moving on to item number 8, Recreation Department, the turf tank.
Oh, man, I'm not that tall. Mayor, Commissioner, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come up here this afternoon, evening, and kind of discuss with you the Liberal Recreation Department's vision for the future and sports maintenance. So kind of give you guys context on what's going on. These sports turf guys are 3 guys that have all the baseball, soccer, basketball courts, you name it, they take care of all that. So what I was looking into is helping them out because I was once one of them in that position of marking fields, prepping fields, you name it. So looking to cut down time and increase production, came across a turf tank. And this is not a legit turf tank that shoots anything but paint. So kind of think of it as a marumba that visually and drops out paint. So this thing is ran by GPS. It accurately lines a football field, soccer field in half the time as it would as 3 guys marking the field. It takes guys about 8 hours just to mark it and then come back the next day to paint it. We were out there at Blue Bonnet Field, which is one of our roughest because it's Bermuda grass, so it's a dormant. And it painted a 9v9 soccer field in 20 minutes. So you're looking at a 11v11 at Lambert. This thing could take about 35 to 40 minutes to paint an entire field. And that's without marking lines. That thing just GPS, you hit go, and it goes. It cuts down on 50% of the paint product being released out. So you're gonna save on product of paint in the long run, along with time. So tonight, what I'm asking is consideration for a subscription for a 1-year lease with Turf Tank. And I believe you guys have information on the lease pricing. And just wanted to give you a backing on why we chose the Pro instead of the Plus. On the Pro, you're receiving 3 batteries, a $3,000 paint allotment, and then the warranty was full warranty. And that was a big thing. We plan on using and abusing this thing to do baseball fields, softball fields, soccer, football, lacrosse, if we ever go that route. This thing can also mark sponsors' names and end zones, or happy birthday to Chris Ford, or happy anniversary, whichever way you want to go. If you guys want that on a football field, soccer field, this machine can get it done. So the rec is asking for with permission, a subscription to Turf Tank for the amount not to exceed $20,000 for a 1-year lease. So really the most significant thing is this is like we're getting a free employee, and we're freeing up 2 or 3 guys from painting the field. And
you'll hear it when we get to budget season, but we got some work we have to do, especially with the general fund departments, and anywhere we can shave off, some dollars is gonna be helpful. We're already super short in the Parks Department anyway, so this is freeing up Jaime to do other stuff besides spend 16 hours painting the field. This will be helpful.
This includes the paint too, right?
Yes, the allotment, the 3,000, because it's got to go through them as special paint. And that's why. If we do put a different paint in, it breaks your warranty and lease.
And we did have the option to buy, I wanna say it was 66 or 67,000 to buy it. But they're anticipating a much more modern product in a year or two, and with the lease, we have the option to upgrade. And I don't even remember what the fancier thing was now, but for the one next year, but
And that's free, the software is always updating, so that's free upgrades to the software.
I also see the Pro gives you 3 batteries instead of the 1 or 2.
Yes, sir.
What is the life on those batteries?
I believe that it was 4 hours on the batteries. So, and just to say, like Blue Bonnet, they're out there painting 5 fields. That thing would probably get done within one battery, but
And then
we'd
you can
also
put
go
that
from
on a
soccer
charge and-
to baseball and all the baseball, softball fields we do in the summertime. It's good to just have those extra batteries going.
So roughly in 2 days, you guys can get done what the park department would have to do in 2 weeks.
I would say in one day, they could be able to paint every field in the town. That would take 3 to 4 days to paint, yes, sir.
How often do you paint those, man?
They paint once a week, especially during growing season. I mean, with the grass, about once a week, so the lines stay nice and bright. Especially at Lambert tournament time, we want that looking good, so we want to keep it clean. And this sucker, I couldn't believe how straight the lines are. It was just, it's amazing how bumpy it is, and that was straight as an arrow. The thing does have sensors on the front and back. So if a dog or something comes up and bumps it in the front, the machine does shut off. So it doesn't, you don't see it just running over a little kid or anything. It's just, so it's got that sensor in the front and back.
And we hear the insurance guy laugh about
Yeah, he's over there.
He's
That
singing-
premium just went
he's
up,
singing the
guys.
choir
I'm
right
sorry.
there.
I'll be quiet. I'm sorry, Al.
Well, I'm assuming that the paint for this thing's more expensive than what you're buying now, but is that right?
A little bit, yes, sir.
Yeah, $3,000 make up the difference,
it's close,
is it?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
I know
I
the
wanna
big
say
savings
that-
is in time,
I
but
wanna say ours is $40 a gallon, and this is, $70 a gallon. But where we're using 5 gallons to do a field, this one does it in 2.
okay.
And the pump cuts out half the pressure, so that's where you're also saving it.
Right.
So like whenever you guys have tournaments, do you have to go back in and redraw the lines, or do you just typically spray it once and then?
They usually go out there and mark it, paint it, and then once a tournament comes, they're supposed to go out there and paint it again,
Okay.
make it sure it's bright. Right now, if you go out to Blue Bonnet, it's a little tough because the grass is yellow. So that might stay there a couple weeks, but during grow season, it's once a week because you're cutting down the grass and that paint's leaving. So one guy can roll this thing out there, fill the paint, go check trash, go weed eat, go mark something else or clean up. It opens up the ability that employee could work different things.
Well, I'll make a motion that we sign an annual subscription with Turf Tank for the amount not to exceed $20,000. Where is it coming from?
The rec facility,
Rec facilities, yes, I do apologize.
Coming from the rec facility?
yeah, the
fund?
rec facility fund.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Had to look it up.
A motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion?
I'll just say I'll vote yes as long as you promise not to write "Happy Birthday, Chris." on the
First thing
fields.
I'm doing, that's,
What about happy birthday, Jeff?
Jeff,
happy birthday,
bonus.
Jeff. There we
Vote and a
go.
half.
All right, all in favor? 5-0, it passes.
Thank you all.
Moving on to item number 9, deeds of release airport property for John Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. We're still in the process of selling land. This is the first of the 3 that we started. We still got 30 to 35 more that we're gonna be doing. So, John Smith has requested to purchase it, and this is the final step that I have to come to you guys for him to be able to buy it. This is just to let the mayor sign the deed of release so I can send it back to the FAA, and then also to sign the contract whenever, I don't know if Lynn's got that one done yet or not, so.
So we just need a motion to allow the mayor to sign these deeds of release
Yes.
from the FAA. I'll make that motion.
And the contract when complete?
And the contract when complete.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Parson and a second from Commissioner Lidenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Brian.
Moving on to item number 10, Holly Ridge Sewer Line relocation.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, like we said in the memo, and it's not just in the Holly Ridge area. We've done it all over town. We let people put stuff wherever they wanted. So we've got, our easements have been encroached upon for forever and a day. And as we get the new subdivision going in, that street on Arrowhead, or those houses that are on Arrowhead, almost everyone has either built into the easement, their fences, or planted trees into the easement. So the 2 options are, when those houses are built, we force those homeowners to take down their fence, and then we tear up their backyard, or their backyard to get torn up until the new sewer tap is done, and then at their expense, they put it back. Or we reroute the sewer line onto public property only and completely out of private property. So there's no good answer on this, but your 2 options are fight with the 12 homeowners and for what could be a really long time, or pay our penance for not doing the right thing before. And you can see the change order amount, $198,000, and then we have the schematic. You can see in the graphic where the easement is roughly, and then the schematic of the new sewer line. Like I said, this is a rare time where I don't have a good recommendation for you because both of them stink, but we're going to ask you to pick the least bad option.
Well, I've always said in cases like this, where it's issues that have happened in the past, and it's always best to do what's right for the public.
Yeah.
And even though it's gonna cost the public some money on this process, I don't think it would be right for us to go through and rip up trees and rip up fences for something that we allowed to do, or at that time was allowed to do. So I've always said doing the right thing is the better course of action, so that's how I feel about it.
And I can tell you, as long as Keith and I are here, we're not going to have this issue moving forward because you're not building into the easement. In some of my other cities, we have allowed people to build into the easement, but they had to sign an addendum saying that they would pay to any costs associated with maintenance. And had we done that on these and all the other areas in town, we wouldn't have this moral dilemma. But anyway.
Well, and I know in some cases, these people weren't the encroachers of origin. They bought these houses
Yeah.
that were already encroached into the easement and probably had no idea that they were like that, so. I think I'm with you, Jose, on that.
My only thing is, we need to inform the public that the easement is there for a purpose. Because, I mean, on my end of town, the south side of town, there's a whole bunch of streets that, when you have a storm coming through, power line goes down, they have to actually go through somebody's yard. The power line, I know one of the power guys got bit by a dog trying to get to fix a power line, because there's no way to get to the easements anymore, because everybody's put their fences all the way across and blocked these out. And I understand the whole thing, but at the same time, they're there. I mean, when you sign up, like you said, these are people that have bought property that already been done. Well, when you buy the piece of property, you know where the property line is. You know that there's an easement there. So
Yeah, but do you really? I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
I have when I bought all mine. So
I don't know where mine is, so.
That's
Yeah.
not even something I would think about.
I know my backyard is the lake.
But you don't know where the easement's at, do you? Yeah. But no, I completely agree that, I mean, moving forward.
I think we need to try to figure out a way to help to enforce where the easements are, because we are
Right.
getting
No
to a point
question.
now that, I mean, literally, next thing you know, people are gonna just be fencing over alleys here soon.
We
well,
have
in a
some
lot
of
of cases
that.
they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some of that now, where people are just gone to the middle of the alley and built their fence.
I mean, that's just, it makes it almost a safety concern for when we do have a disaster.
On the
something that
utilities, yeah.
There's no way to actually get to some of these pieces of property, gas lines and stuff, they're in people's backyards now instead of being on an easement.
Nope, I agree, and I think Rusty answered that one pretty well. Moving forward, there won't be any more of that while we have the current people and staff actually looking for it. But no, I agree. We definitely can't allow that either. Now, looking at this map, and I know, you know, the line's a little bigger than what the actual easement is. It looks like on some of these cases, it goes right up into their back wall.
Are you talking about the yellow line?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was just my swag to show you
Okay,
the area,
so,
yeah. The-
yeah, I was over here like,
It's about 10 feet into their backyard.
which still will give them.
Some of
maybe
them,
what,
some of them is pretty close, but, yeah, that is not an engineered yellow line, it's just Rusty's.
Rusty's
Creation
show?
of-
Yeah.
Okay. That was concerning.
I was kind of the same way, I'm looking at it going, somebody really built it wrong.
No, in that case. And going forward, is that something we're gonna try and look into for, you know, the other properties?
So we have been working on, there's several areas of town like Flower Street, Rose, Violet, all of those easements. South of Pine, Pershing, Sherman, those easements are fenced out. And some of the times they get a fence permit, and they've been trying to make the fence up. But that's a very slow process. And, you know, some people say, oh, I have to move my fence, I'm losing 700 square feet of backyard, I understand.
Yeah, because I know on those flower streets, they're sharing their backyard with the other person.
It's bad enough that Southern Pioneer is specifically small, especially where the equipment is like 32 inches wide.
Well, I'm glad that's one of those problems that we're looking into. I'll entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion, we reroute that sewer line into public property. I don't know how detailed
Just,
we need to get with
You
this.
can just read the,
Oh, it's right here.
Huh?
I
just
saw it.
approve change order 1, an amount not to
Okay,
exceed 200.
make a motion to approve change order number 1, the amount not to exceed 200,000 to be paid evenly from sewer, utility, and street and drainage and other capital improvement funds.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion?
I'll be abstaining. I'm not involved in this part of the project, but I am involved in the project. I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? 3-1 passes with one abstention. Okay, moving on to item number 11, Randall Pond Detention.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, this is a project that predates four of us. I know Mr. Lindenbroker and Mr. Warren were on the commission when this was brought up the first time. I'm not entirely sure why it got paused, but it got paused. Anyway, this is the detention pond for the western side of town. We talked about it during the town hall and a couple of the other, when we had the list of projects. Even the limited amount of rainfall causes significant flooding on Walnut and Pine and in that area. So we did have Earls do the cost estimates for us. The city crews are gonna do the excavation, which saved us about $170,000. So we're estimating roughly $100,000 in material. And this will be contingent once we get the land transfer done. So all we're looking for tonight is approval to move forward with the project, and then we'll have some other stuff as far as land transfer goes later, but we can order pipe and the fellows can start doing some work.
I'll make a motion we approve the construction of the Randall Pond pending the land transfer agreement and amount not to exceed $100,000 paid through the street drainage and other capital improvements fund.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Lindenbroker and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, it passes. Moving on to item number 12, City Hall HVAC units.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, we talked about this during budget session. We had looked at replacing these two air conditioners last year, and it was 18 to 22 week wait, and they wouldn't guarantee price, and they wanted down payment, so we tabled it. Now we've revisited it. Chris got 2 quotes for the units. Lynn's Total Comfort was about $400 more, but they've done the last 2 big jobs for us, done a great job. He lives here. I know both he and Weber have offices here, but he's actually a resident, so our recommendation is to go with Lynn's Total Comfort on the 2 AC units for City Hall.
I'll make a motion to approve 2 rooftop units from Lynn's Total Comforter in the amount not to exceed $2,600,000 to be funded from the general fund non-departmental budget.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Vice Mayor Parsons. I will be abstaining from this one because this is now officially my brother-in-law who owns it, so I will not vote. Any further discussion? All in favor? It passes 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, moving on to item 13, Planning and Zoning Board appointments.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have for you tonight 2 recommendations for board appointments to the Planning and Zoning Board. One of them is the reappointment of Nick Schwint, which was voted on by the Planning and Zoning Board at the last meeting to reappoint him for a term of 3 years. And a new applicant, Mr. Edgar Ortuño, who would fill the vacant county seat. Neither of those gentlemen could be here tonight. I am very excited about Mr. Ortuño. He has a master's in architecture. I think he will be an amazing addition to the board, should you so choose to place him on it. And Mr. Schwint has served the board for several years and done a pretty good job.
Edgar's definitely a home run, getting him on the board.
Well, that's two pluses, because that county seat has traditionally been really hard to fill.
I don't recall ever seeing that
Yeah.
county seat filled.
We need two motions.
Yep.
Two motions, you said?
A and D.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Swint to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term of 3 years.
I'll second that.
Okay, on item 13A, we have a motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Vice Mayor Parsons. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 4-1, it passes. Then, technically, that one was B on our thing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Did
So,
me first.
yeah. That was item B. Now I would entertain a motion on 13A.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Edgar Artunio. Doesn't say how long the term,
I think it should be the.
a 3-year term, to the Liberal Metropolitan Area Board of Zoning Appeals and the Liberal Metropolitan Area Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Lidenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 14, city staff. All of our directors are gone, or assistant city managers and attorneys. So, anyone else from city staff would like to speak? Okay, moving on to item number 15, city managers report.
Okay, so most of these guys are at the Kansas Rural Water Association Conference, so that's why they're not here. I'm going tomorrow, so I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. And it's a great opportunity, especially for Brad, as he's new to water and sewer, and that's probably the best conference in the state, regardless of topic. So that's a great opportunity. This weekend is the Chamber Bash. Alicia has we have 10 tickets. Is that correct? So we have a table. So any of you who would like to go, please go by and see Alicia and get your tickets. I'll be out of town, but and the only other thing is the Kansas Broadband Roadshow is currently at the college. So if you have a few minutes after the meeting and you want to run over there and talk to them, I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Item number 16, items from commissioners. Start
I'll
with Ron.
pass tonight. I'm good.
I'll pass.
Chris.
I don't have anything.
I'll just thank the staff as always for the hard work they put in. It's very much appreciated. That's all I have.
Mine will be quick too. I'm sure some people have seen some newspaper articles. I want to just reinforce my commitment to being transparent through all levels of government, regardless of which entity it is. So that's my kind of push. I think we've done a good job here at the city. I hope all the employees feel comfortable with being open in Rusty's management, as well as the commission being open to communication from anybody. And I would just like to continue that forward and all the good work that the city has done. So thank you to all the employees. That's it. Number 17, vouchers.
Make a motion that we approve the vouchers in the amount of $1,093,239.68.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Warren and a second by Commissioner Lidenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, it passes. We are adjourned.